Well, hello everyone, and welcome to round number 3 of the REMUS GT3 Championship here on RaceRoom. My name is Connery Maddock. I'll be your English commentator here for today. We've already had 2 fantastic events here in this series, 4 races to be exact, and well, things are shaping up to be pretty pleasant here in Austria in the Red Bull Ring, for which is the host for event number 3 of the REMUS GT3 Championship. I'm glad that you are all able to join us here for this one, but before we dive on head first into things here at the Red Bull Ring, let's just take a little bit of a look back to see exactly what happened in round number 2 at the Nürburgring. "20 minutes of action here for race number 1, about to get itself underway. Florian Hasse on pole position, Ben Spunky on the front row, Rachel and Keithley behind. Let's see what they can do. Event number 2 of the REMUS GT3 Championship is underway, as we'll see the field fan out coming down towards the braking zone for turn 1 for the first time. Hasse in the lead as Bunky looks to try and find a line through on them. It's a whole bunch of Team Shmee cars in P2, 3 and 4 on the way down into towards the hairpin for the first time. Looks like everyone has been able to get through there unscathed. A little bit of fighting a little bit further back as Emre Can looks to go around the outside of Isaac Price to be concerned about as well. So maybe the team allegiances get thrown out the window when push comes to shove. And speaking of shoving, multiple bits of contact in the midfield, as there is Max Pfeiffer going out very wide into the gravel. He got bullied wide with all of the incidents that were happening behind him. All the way to the pit wall goes Adam Pinces. Tim Heinemann looking to go around the long way in the Mercedes, trying to find a way past the Corvette, but no way through just yet for Team Malmedie. Going around the outside, backhand out, holds it, continues on the battle through turn 3. Now we'll have the inside for turn number 4. No, he won't. Jack Keithley will cut him off. The door is slammed, pushing all the way to the pit wall, forcing Pinces to go the long way around into turn 1. Pinces committing there. Oh no! Spins it off the corner. Pinces hits the Armco barrier on the inside of the corner as well. Makes a bit of a mess of the rejoin too. And that is more points lost for Team Malmedie. As he heads his way through the final corner, Florian Hasse will win race number 1 here at the Nürburgring in the REMUS GT3 Championship on RaceRoom, in the best seats in the house at the moment. Another 20-minute event in the REMUS GT3 Championship, race number 2 at the Nürburgring, about to go green. It has gone green, and now this is the opportunity for Team Malmedie to recover points after race number 1. They have to get in order on the way down in towards turn number 1 first. Page leads down in towards turn number 1. Maximilian Paul in second place. Lucas Muller in third. He's going to fight with his teammate down in towards turn number 1. Manuel Rodriguez, the highest placed Team Shmee car, looking to make forward progress early on. He's challenging for P3 around the outside of Maximilian Paul there. Let's see if Rodriguez is able to get through. Here comes his teammate, Andres Santos as well. Santos sending it down the inside of his teammate, wheel to wheel through the Mercedes-Benz Arena for the first time. And Maximilian Paul goes for the up and under through Dunlop curve, looking to try and find the traction off the corner as well. They're going to be absolutely level on the way into the Michael Schumacher S here. Oh, this can get sketchy, but Maximilian Santos has been able to make it work. They're going to go side by side between the 2 teammates. Pfeiffer looking to try and gain a couple positions out of this one. There's been a big incident at the very back of the field there. I'm trying to scroll back to see exactly what happened there. Mikael Costa is taking the tow back to pit lane into turn 1. This might be potentially be a bit of a mess down in towards turn number 1 here, side by side between the 2 teammates. The 3 wide behind with Kunzer in the middle of all of it. Oh, they're all able to recover though, as they'll take the fight to turn 2. Again, still 3 wide between all of them here on the way into turn 3 now. Kunze has been able to get ahead of Rodriguez. Pfeiffer is involved in the thick of things as well. He looks to try and gain a whole bunch out of this one. It's a whole bunch of confusion for the first sector for the first time. Rodriguez with a liberal definition of the track limits as they all try to find their way through on Maximilian Paul there. Pfeiffer's been able to get away with this. Who's that gone around in the background? Seems like it is Tim Yarshall to try and defend their positions. We're going to see 3 wide again here on the way into turn number 1. These guys don't know when to quit. Dornaden's gains the position over Carton. Carton now under threat from Högfeldt as well. Wittvoet in behind, trying to make some progress. Wittvoet, oh no, that is, who's that spun around? That is Martin Barner. Barner's gone around here. Carton's gone around too. He was the initial instigator of that one for Maximilian Paul. He loses the position now to Jack Keithley as well. Now he's trying to weave all across the track to try and defend these positions. That is way more than one move on the brakes in towards turn number 1. That's not exactly ideal as Team Shmee try to swarm the stricken Team Malmedie car, gaining all of these points. Here's Chardier and Ben Spamke, by the way. This is an interesting fight. Of course, Streamer versus one of the best drivers on RaceRoom, on the way through the final couple of corners of the Mercedes-Benz Arena, as Chardier trying to hang it out around the outside. Doesn't quite get the speed off the corner required. 3 minutes to go, and here comes Max Pfeiffer on Andre Santos, looking to get P3 away. A 1-2-3 for Team Malmedie would be a decent recovery. Oh, gotta be careful with turning in like that, Pfeiffer. He forces Santos up onto the curb there to be able to sort out their differences. Santos, look at that. He's not having any of it. He goes for the send in towards turn 1. Pfeiffer looking for the up and under. He's squarely on the throttle through the corner as Santos looks to the inside through turn 3. He should be able to get this one done, and he has. P1, P2, 1-2 finish for Malmedie. Lucas Müller looking to come through the final corner. He will win race number 2 here at the Nürburgring. Who comes third though? Andre Santos looks like he's been able to hold on, and Max Pfeiffer in 4th place. Julian Kunster will remain in 5th place here, coming across the line. It's not enough of a straight down towards the start-finish line for Pfeiffer to do anything. Santos holds on. Well, after a particularly exciting affair at the Nürburgring, the point standings look like this. Team Shmee are ahead at this stage of competition. They are on 1,068 points compared to the 1,015 that Team Malmedie have been able to manage so far. Of course, we'll get into the more of the structure of the championship a little bit later on, but just be aware there are multiple kind of championships going on at basically the same time. So we have, of course, the head-to-head duel between Team Shmee and Team Malmedie, but of course you have the individual driver championship as well, currently led in fact by Florian Hasse. You can see him top point scorer for Team Malmedie, top points scorer across the entire entire roster of drivers so far in this one. You see Jack Keithley and Ben Spamke, they are currently tied in 2nd place in terms of drivers championship there as the top scorers for Team Shmee. But without further ado, let's just take another look at where we're racing at here today. Of course, the very famous Red Bull Ring. Of course, it's played host to so many a Austrian Grand Prix over the years, still continues to do so here in Spielberg. But of course, we do have a bit of a track guide brought to us by one of our influencer drivers here today, Team Shmee. Well, Shmee himself will be taking us through on how to do a lap here at the Red Bull Ring.
Here we are, the 3rd race of the REMUS GT3 Championship 2021 at the Red Bull Ring in Austria, the home race of REMUS, located only a few kilometers away from this very circuit. Now, I've only driven it once before, but today we are on board the Porsche 911 GT3 Cup. Let's go for a sighting lap, get a little bit of a feel for what this circuit is like and what the racers are going to be contending with as we go down the start straight here, heading uphill in the mountainous Styrian region in Austria. Some beautiful scenery and views, in fact, as we make our way around the tight first corner that we had there before it opens up and meanders uphill here towards the highest point of the circuit. We've got a relatively short circuit, but a mixture of corners, some faster flowing sections, some tighter, twistier ones as well, as we come in right down towards the almost hairpin here at the top before it opens up, giving us this view all around. We can get back, foot flat on the throttle, in this GT3 car to get a sense of what it's all about. And as I said, this is one of my first times experiencing this location, so I've got a lot to learn. Let's hope I can bring it all the way around and back safely towards the end of the lap. As we go here, again, flat out, getting a sense for what the racers are going to be enjoying and experiencing in a competitive manner around this fantastic location. Oh, a little bit bumpy there, riding wide on the curbs. Don't want to be doing too much of that. Holding it a little bit wide. I've slightly drifted off the edge of the circuit. But here we go, coming back now towards the final stretches. Try and get this brake point right. Firm on the anchors. And we run it down now towards the final corner. A very tricky, challenging one in fact. Take second gear there. Open it up, unwind, and along the start-finish straight towards the finishing line, successfully completing a lap here at the Red Bull Ring.
Well, thank you very much there to Shmee for just taking us through what a lap of the Red Bull Ring looks like from the driver's seat. Hello everyone, my name is ReMuS. I'll be your English commentator here for this evening's events, and well, the event structure not all that different from events that have gone by previously. We'll get ourselves 2 20-minute events here in this one, 2 20-minute races to be exact, and then we'll be heading into that second race with a full reverse grid, which is not usually done in these sorts of competitions, but certainly a source of excitement when it comes down to that second race, as we see a lot of the fast drivers try to work their way back up through the field after maybe experiencing a few problems in doing so. Drivers are just currently out there completing their final couple of minutes of practice here at the moment. So those guys continuing out there just to try and get themselves their sights set for proceedings today. Of course, you know, they would have been able to do a whole bunch of practice during the week in the leading up to this in particular, but of course it's always good to just get those last couple of moments of well, settling in and mental preparation for the qualifying session, which is yet to come. So while these guys are continuing on, getting themselves prepared, let's have a little bit of a reminder of what the schedule is like for this season. Of course, we can put that up on the screen for you now. Of course, we've already had Spa, we've already had the Nürburgring. You saw the highlight reel of that just a couple of minutes ago, and you've got the Red Bull Ring here today for the third round of the season. Once we've got this done, well, that's the 50% of the season completed as far as we're concerned. Then we head to Road America for round number 4, then Bathurst and Macau to finish off the season. Those are two very, very intriguing tracks to finish off the season here. Two very tricky, very driver-demanding tracks to be able to get ourselves our last couple of events there. So you certainly want to tune in for those final couple of rounds, because they could end up being a bit of a barnstormer, shall we say, here in this one. But practice is now drawing to a close out there on the server, so we can bring you live pictures now from the qualifying. Of course, open qualifying here in the REMUS GT3 Championship, so everyone will try to swarm out there all at the same time. And, well, sometimes it is a relatively tricky situation to be able to get yourself a little bit of space to run in here. Of course, here at the Red Bull Ring, maybe you do want to have a couple of cars ahead of you when it comes to slipstreaming to be able to get the fastest lap time possible. Out of the car here in this one. Maybe you do need those buddies ahead of you, but thankfully for these guys, they are split into 2 equally sized teams here, despite any of their esports team allegiances behind the scenes here in this one. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see those Team Shmee cars all group up together, the Team Malmedie cars all group up together. If you're unfamiliar though, the Team Shmee cars will be in the blue liveried cars, and the Team Malmedie are in the green, so that's a very easy differentiator for you. It makes it a little bit harder to tell apart who exact drivers. Of course, you can use a combination of the car number and, of course, the type of manufacturer and make and model of the car that each of these individual drivers are using. Of course, when we get into racing mode, you'll have the standings on the left-hand side to be able to help you out as well. Believe me, I'm going to be using that one a lot as well here in this one. So you're seeing the packs already be established here, as there was a Team Malmedie car trying to squeak their way down the inside of this good, healthy train of Team Shmee cars as they wind their way through the final corner onto the first of their flying laps here. Basically get unlimited flying laps here, as many flying laps as you can do within the allotted time here, as they have 8 minutes to go in the session of 10 as they cross the line to start the first of their flying laps. Of course, talking about what happened last time out at the Nürburgring, it was a pretty, well, there was a performance from Team Malmedie that left a little bit more to be desired, I would say, coming into this one, as Team Shmee do lead, of course, at this stage of competition, and they're looking to try to extend their championship lead here coming out of the Red Bull Ring, as there's a good 50 points between, well, it's just shy of 50 points between the two teams at the moment, both over 1,000 at this stage, and of course we do have to pay attention to the Drivers' Championship as well. Florian Hasse currently leading that one for the moment. There he is, out there on circuit, as we can pull his sector times up now. Of course, going purple through first two sectors, although that not usually entirely accurate when it comes to the first lap of an open qualifying session here in RaceRoom, but let's see how it turns out as he heads his way out of the final corner, in and amongst a good grouping of Team Malmedie cars here. Isaac Price setting the first time of the lot, but Florian Hasse coming across the line now, only being able to go, well, 8th fastest at the moment, so not in his ideal first lap for Florian Hasse. Christopher Högfeldt currently going to the top of the order right now, the Swede, fastest of everyone in the Corvette. Alexander Dorniden in second place at the moment, so it seems like the two Team Shmee cars at the very top of the order. The highest placed Team Malmedie car at the moment here in qualifying is Marco Pejic, who's currently heading up this little train here as they head their way down the back straight. That's our first little signal as to what's going to be happening in terms of the qualifying session here. It's, of course, you know, track position pretty important coming into the first race, but all that track position just kind of gets turned itself on its head when it comes to the second race. So maybe the philosophy heading into this session is a little bit more different compared to what you would usually see in normal league racing. But Christopher Högfeldt doing very well at the moment at the very top of the order. Of course, has competed in many a championship here on RaceRoom at the very top level. Of course, he is a driver in the GT Masters Esports Championship as well, as would be the case for a lot of these drivers out there today. They are, of course, mostly the top of the top in RaceRoom. Of course, we have invited drivers as well, the influencer drivers, and of course we have drivers that have been able to qualify themselves through leaderboards and things like that. So it's once you get towards the bottom of the order, there are a bit of a smattering of names that you may or may not be used to saying here in RaceRoom Esports competition. Marco Pejic, though, provisional pole position at the moment, so that's a good sign for Team Malmedie, as Pejic in the Porsche able to set the fastest time of everyone so far. Of course, there are balance of performance concerns coming into this one. Of course, I mean, there's always balance of performance situations to talk about when it comes to any multi-class events, and that's not even restricted to sim racing either. Of course, it happens a lot in the real world as well. The balance of performance for the Red Bull Ring in the REMUS GT3 Championship currently stands as Porsche is unchanged, AMG Mercedes is unchanged, Bentley has 1% less horsepower, the Corvette has a 5 kilogram ballast and 1% less horsepower, the BMW has had no changes, and the Audi has had a 5 kilogram weight penalty plus the 1% reduction in horsepower as well. So for those cars that have been hit the most by the balance of performance, the Corvette and the Audi, maybe going to be a little bit of more of a struggle than they were expecting here into this one. But Christopher Hergveld, who's in one of those Corvettes, still doing pretty well here in qualifying at the moment. Currently running on his own, which is not always ideal. I would have thought you would want a bit of the slipstream from the cars ahead of you here in qualifying at the Red Bull Ring. But Hergveld just continuing out there on his own and still setting very good and representative lap times as a result. It's a very big complement of Team Shmee cars inside the top 10 at the moment. They've got P2, P3, P4, P6. We've got P8, P9 as all Team Shmee cars at the moment. Of course, Marko Pejic, Team Malmedie, currently at the very top of the order. So it looks like, at least in this late part of the session, it's going to be pretty tough to try and surpass him. But look at how close Christopher Hergveld is, only 54 thousandths of a second behind in qualifying. We've got Alexander Dorneden, that's 71 thousandths of a second behind your race leader. So the top 3 cars all separated by, well, top 4 cars, I would say, all separated by very, very little, all within that 1/10 of a second. So qualifying very competitive here in Spielberg. Watching Jack Keithley in the Bentley here, just ahead of the AMG Mercedes. Can't quite tell who that was at. There we go. It is Ben Spunky that's sitting up behind him for the moment. So that is P7 and P4 in qualifying at the moment, as this session starts to gradually wind itself down to a close. Still ample opportunity to be able to get your lap times in at this stage, though, as Banky and Keithley will be heading out of the final corner now, across the line to set another lap time here. Of course, it was a purple first sector there for Ben Spunky, but well, a little bit lackluster sector 2 and sector 3 means that he's not really going to be able to improve on his lap here. Of course, still sitting up behind Jack Keithley, getting that slipstream that might give him the edge with regards to gaining the remaining 78 thousandths of a second that he needs to try and get up into pole position. But time is starting to run out at this stage. There is Marko Pejic currently at the head of a 4-car train of Team Malmedie cars at the moment, and well, getting the edge of the slipstream from one of the Team Shmee Bentleys a little bit further down the road as well. So maybe Marko Pejic still has a little bit something in this one. In fact, he's already gone faster through the first sector than his faster than everyone through first sector is Purple. And now through sector 2, if he can lick this one up correctly, then maybe, just maybe, Pejic will be able to extend his current provisional pole position time. Tim Yarshall up into 3rd place with a great lap in the dying moments. Marginally slower was Marko Pejic through sector 2, and now in towards sector 3. Marko Pejic still on that provisional pole position. Will he be able to extend the time, though, at the end of this lap? It's a 1:27.661. That's currently his fastest lap time, or rather 6:67. And now Purple through sector 3 as well. So great lap time there from Marko Pejic. Still not an improvement on his current provisional pole position setting time, and well, that's going to be the end of the session, at least as far as our overlays are concerned. Of course, there's still a little bit of time left for drivers to be able to surprise us at this stage, but I'm not really seeing anyone out there on circuit that will be able to. So Marko Pejic pole position with Christopher Hergveld in P2, Tim Yarshall P3, Alexander Dorneden in P4 with Ben Spunky in the 5th place. And you've got further down, you've got Krippner, Pfeiffer, Chian, Keithley, Price. You've got Kunzert, Vianney a little bit further back, Asta, Hassa, and Martin Barner rounding out the top 15. You can see the rest of the names cycle through on your screen right now. I do, of course, have to apologize if I'm going to be a little bit silent throughout some portions of this broadcast. I completely ruined my voice from a commentary from yesterday, so it's going to be a little bit of a struggle for a solo commentator to try and cover all of this one, but I will try my best at this point. But drivers will be able to give themselves ample opportunity to get themselves prepared for the race now, as we do have, of course, this little bit of a warm-up session to get out of the way before we get ourselves to the first 20-minute race today. to clarify a little bit of things with the format regards to exactly which drivers get to race on any given day. Of course, there will be no additional leaderboard or guest starters for seats from the community. That was made clear, at least in the very early portions of this one. Of course, there will, however, be 4 slots in each race that will be used to invite special guests. These guests are not able to compete for championship points, but they have their own point system, which and additionally can collect points for their team as well. So the only championships the guest drivers are excluded from is the overall driver championship. Of course, they can still score points for their own mini championship and, of course, their teams as well. And if you're wondering, these cars, of course, are using the the highest difficulty in terms of simulation settings that RaceRoom provides. So they're on Get Real. Of course, the tire and fuel wear are all set to normal. Damage is full, though, however, so you do have to be very, very careful with regards to a bit of bumper banging here and there, because you will be carrying that damage throughout the rest of any given race. So you do want to keep yourself out of the wars, so to speak. Although saying that, like we saw at Germany, it seemed like these guys wanted to lean on each other at every single opportunity. So I wouldn't take no contact as a guarantee here in this one. These cars are using fixed setups, though. So the drivers haven't really had an opportunity to try and fiddle around with the car settings for this one. So all the cars, at least between the same manufacturer, are all absolutely identical here into this one. Of course, levels the playing field a little bit, especially given that we may have a few guest starters down the order that don't really have the time or sometimes the skill. I will be brutally honest like that, to be able to put together a car for one of these events, so it kind of helps them out. Of course, we've got some of our guest starters. Of course, we've got Louis Delatraz, fantastic real-world driver. We've got Xavier Sanchez, a Spanish streamer. We've got James West, Gamer Muscle is his YouTube channel name, and it's great to see these guys get themselves involved here in this one, even if it is more towards the very back of the pack in race 1. Of course, we might see them promote themselves a little bit further up the order in race 2, given the reverse grid that we'll have to do. I have to wonder what the game plan for each team is coming into this one. Of course, if we look back to the Nürburgring, then it was a horrible day, all things considered, for Team Malmedie. This didn't seem like they had the pace at the Nürburgring, but maybe things slightly different here at the Red Bull Ring, given they do have pole position at the moment, and of course, good smattering of cars inside of that top 10. So maybe today looking a little bit better than a couple of weeks ago at the Nürburgring. But of course, Team Shmee, best seat in the house, can't complain. Still around 50 points ahead in the championship in the head-to-head. They have, I would argue, at least from my perspective, a little bit of a deeper roster in terms of skill compared to Team Malmedie. Yes, Team Malmedie have a couple of flashy drivers. We got Marco Pejic, who's stuck on pole position for this one. They've a couple of other names further down the order that can really have some standout performances from time to time, but at least from the names I see on Team Shmee's side, maybe a little bit more consistency there. Not only in terms of results from week to week, but results, comparatively speaking, between the drivers as well. It always helps when you've got a lot of friends out there on track and relatively near as well. Of course, heading into the halfway point of the season now, it starts to get a little bit more real. Of course, that the end of the season starts to just become a slight glimmer of light at the very end of. There's a pretty long tunnel, of course, but soon we will be taking you know, to the track in Macau for the final round of the season, and we'll have to wait and see what set of circumstances greets us there, whether the championships are going to be very close, whether they're going to be complete blowouts either way. Of course, we're hoping for the former, and we've still got a couple of rounds before we get to that point. Just 1 minute to go here in the little warm-up session that we have in between qualifying and the first race. Of course, standing starts here in this one as well. Maybe a little bit different if you're familiar more with the ADAC GT Masters Esports way of doing things. It's great to see some activity in the chat as well. A lot of support from for Team Shmee. It's great to see everyone supporting their favorite drivers, their favorite teams. It just adds another element to the spectator experience here. Lots of Let's Go Shmee. There's a chance of Malmedie as well. So yeah, well, we'll see which one of you are going to be happy at the end of this one, as warm-up has drawn itself to a close now, and we'll be able to get our grid formation process underway for race number 1. Of course, both 20-minute races here today. Usually you would see in a reverse grid race the second race just be that little bit longer, so drivers can work their way back up through the fields if they've gotten the bad end of the reverse grid, but not so here in this series. Maybe just makes it that little bit more interesting. So you can see the drivers taking themselves to the starting grid now. Of course, it's a very short run up in towards turn number 1, and of course, a very long run down in towards turn number 3. Of course, home track of our series organizer. REMUS have one of their bases here at the Red Bull Ring, so of course this one's going to be on the calendar as we just wait for everyone to get themselves ready. A maximum of 10 seconds before we get going, but looks like everyone's ready a little bit before that one. Round number 3 of the REMUS GT3 Championship here on RaceRoom is about to get itself underway. The first race of 2 goes green, and we see a jump start already by someone. I saw the notification, didn't quite see who that was, as we ride on all the way up in towards turn number 1. Marco Page leading through turn 1 over Christopher Högfeldt. He's got Tim Yarshall in 3rd place with Alexander Dorden in 4th. Ben Spunky 5th place at the moment, as it looks like we're all clean coming through turn number 1 for the first time through that basically non-existent corner of turn 2 and onto the brakes into turn 3 now, as Christopher Högfeldt looking to try to go the long way around on your race leader. Marco Page is able to hold on though, as they'll start the run in towards turn number 4 now. Downhill braking zone, of course. Have to be a little bit earlier on the brakes as a result than you would expect coming down into here. Högfeldt still trying to harass the back of Page, as there's Ben Spunky and Leonard Krippner trying to fight wheel to wheel. So Team Shmee cars occupy P2, 3, 4 and 5 at the moment. That's a good points haul for them so far in this one. Of course, it is the Malmedie car of Marco Page that leads, but he has no friends behind him. He's going to be quaking in his boots a little bit here, unless he can start to put a good couple of lap times together, try and pull away from the pack, but that is so difficult to do here at the Red Bull Ring due to the pretty healthy slipstream zones. Out of the final corner then to complete lap number 1 of race number 1. Page holds on. Of course, he's the driver that started in pole position. Högfeldt 2nd place. There's a little bit more action going on behind, though. Ben Spunky trying to hold on to Krippner. Who's that pushing all the way wide? It's a it's a Bentley from Team Shmee, and I believe it is Isaac Price that had a little bit of a problem there. Intra-team fighting going on further back as well, as Emre Xian trying to fight wheel to wheel with Leonard Krippner now. So Xian feeling like he is the faster of the 2 teammates here, as they almost lean on each other coming down the back straight. That's not ideal between 2 teammates. You just don't want to have contact with your own teammate. But we've already seen that so far this season. Now Max Pfeiffer looking to try to go a long way around on the Turkish driver of Emre Can. So a little bit of infighting here with Team Malmedie. Is just allowing some of those Team Shmee cars just to extend their gaps back to them. Of course, like I said, it is still very, very tough to be able to break the slipstream here at the Red Bull Ring. Not to say it's impossible, though. King Carrot in our chat saying, Game of Muscle is not last, what's going on? Well, there's the proof. James West, Game of Muscle in 28th at the moment of 33. So that is a bit of a miracle. I do agree there with our commenter in the chat as James West continuing to cycle his way around. He's got a couple of cars further down the road as well that he might be able to challenge a little bit later on, as we got a car pushing wide in the back there. Was that Julian Kunze? I believe it was Julian Kunze. Have a bit of an off-track escapade through the exit of turn number 1, and now Mark Garsner's looking to try and capitalize on this one, looking to go the long way around at turn number 3. Corvette versus Corvette, but it's Shmee versus Malmedie as they'll come off the corner and, well, they'll lean on each other's doors. Sparks fly down the straight as Kunze continues to try and find a way by, battling ahead as well as Isaac Price tries to look to find a way through Lucas Müller. Muller's having none of it, though. Keeps himself ahead at this stage. It's amazing to see these cars bottom out over the curb and just send a shower of sparks in the way of the driver following in behind them. But, of course, this is the point in the race where maybe we'll see things start to settle down just a little bit. I know the danger in saying that as a commentator, though. There's been so many times that I said, oh, surely things will start to calm down, and things haven't calmed down. In fact, they've gone the other way. Garsner trying to defend from Ottaviani up in towards turn number 1. Then the Bentley on the outside going late on the brakes as possible. Gets forced wide. Coming on the exit of the corner, though. We're able to duck back into the slipstream. Maybe able to challenge a little bit later on as we see Krippner and Emre Can. That was a bit of a negotiated pass there between Can and Krippner. Was that Louis Delatraz that got himself a drive-through penalty there? Of course, I did see a name pop up that jumped the start, but didn't quite see who it was. Oh no, it's Louis Delatraz for speeding in the pit lane. So he must have come down in for maybe that jump start, and then while he's trying to save the drive-through penalty for the jump start, he's also got himself another drive-through penalty for speeding in the pit lane. So things have not gone ideal for the Swiss driver in the real world, of course, Delatraz. Very much securely towards the very bottom of the order. The only reason why Carton's behind him is Carton is a retirement from this race so far. Out the final corner, looks like Ottaviani got a pretty decent run over Mark Garsner that time around, coming down the front straight. But turn 1 is not really one of your prime overtaking opportunities here at the Red Bull Ring. It's more like down in towards turn number 3 and turn number 4. No! Ottaviani spins. I'll give 10 out of 10 for style and 10 out of 10 for avoidance, as everyone's able to get through very much unscathed. But Ottaviani doing a bit of a pirouette on the exit of turn number 1, and now straight into a battle with Ben Dorr, I believe. Yeah, Ben Dorr down the inside and gets that position away from Ottaviani. Would have scored maximum points if this was a show driving competition, but it's not. So Ottaviani now has to try and work his way back around the outside of Ben Dorr. Now maybe get squeezed out a little bit, almost out into the dirt, into the gravel. "13 minutes left to go here in this one. Still over the half of the race yet to be completed. Still unknowns in this race to come. just to give you an update on the sort of the composition of the top 10 for each of your teams. Of course, we have Malmedie, they have P1 at the moment, they have P6, 7, 8, 9. So that's the state of the top 10 for them, but Team Shmee currently have P2, P3, P4, P5, and P10 at the moment. So you have to break the calculators out to try and work out who's winning in that position. But of course, it all gets done after the race for us by our wonderful race administrators. But here comes Mark Garsner then around the outside of Michael Rachel. Michael Rachel trying to hold on to some points here for Team Shmee. Of course, top 8 drivers in each team will score themselves points. So you can have a couple of casualties for each team in this race, and they won't count towards the final points order. Can't be having too many drivers having 4 races here in this one. Says what happened to Jack Heathley. He seems a bit out of position, and yeah, you're absolutely right. Down towards the very bottom of the order. I think he had might have had a few slowdown penalties to put him all the way back there, considering that he had been pushed very wide multiple times through turn number 1 and having to take the big wide arc coming off the corner. And maybe the stewards have kind of looked down upon such track limits infringements. I am having a look at the race control decisions. Nothing's really come through just yet here in this one, so it'll have to remain a mystery about what happened to Jack Heathley so far in this one. Of course, we did see what happened to Ottaviani. That was pretty spectacular, heading out of turn number 1. There's the front of the field, though, through turn 3. Page still leads from Hergveld, from Jarschel, from Donnerden, from Banki. A good complement of Team Shmee cars inside of the top 5 there. Of course, 4 of the top 5 are Team Shmee cars at the moment. We might be getting a penalty through, though. Another automated one. I just saw that one flash up on the right-hand side of the screen. Sometimes it takes a bit of time to refresh and show up, though. Minutes left to go, so halfway point in this race now, and well, things have indeed calmed down just a little bit. Of course, still plenty of time for the end of this race before that checkered flag for positions to be swapped around once again here in this one. Of course, a little bit further back through the order. Of course, we have Ben Dorr and Luciano Wittvoet for esports versus Valassi Esports here. Of course, that would be their esports teams if they didn't have, of course, the liveries of either Team Shmee or Team Malmedie. Points working out relatively equal between the two teams, though, I have to argue at this stage. Of course, I don't have the instant points calculations to hand. If I had to favour a team at the moment, at least with the current position of the cars, it would be Team Shmee. Comes Luciano Wittvoet trying to go down the inside of Ben Dorr. It's Porsche versus Porsche through turn 3. Now Luciano Wittvoet has been able to get that move done in a relatively simple fashion. Fantastic stuff there from Wittvoet to be able to gain that 1 position. I do apologise, of course, for the periodic pauses because my throat is very sore at the moment after being on a commentary yesterday and completely destroying my voice. So I do kind of have to save it at this point. So less talkative me, maybe a little bit less hyped me at the moment. But that perhaps might return if we get an absolutely ecstatic finish to one of these races here today. I see a little bit of infighting once again here deeper in the pack between the Malmedie cars. Max Pfeiffer is really reeling in that Bentley ahead of him, and well, potentially might be looking to get past. If he feels like he is faster, then it might be beneficial for Team Malmedie to try and organize this orchestrated pass. A little bit squirrely coming off the corner. Crippler just getting himself out of the way. Lucas Muller looking to try and get himself through the Corvette as well. Looks like the Bentley will be slotting in between the two though, but oh no. Crippler forced wide, and now here comes Isaac Price as well. So Price, while he's watching all of these Team Malmedie cars just kind of fighting amongst themselves here, he's just thought, oh, 3 points for me then. And now he'll challenge around the outside of Lucas Muller in through that middle sector. Almost banged doors between the two Bentleys. Coming up in towards turn number 7 now. Struggling to keep a hold of those cars. The cars feeling very wiggly indeed. Price continuing to hound the back of these guys. Trying to find a slot down the inside here in towards the penultimate corner. The two Bentleys are still door to door. Still making contact as well through the final corner. Crippler will be able to keep himself ahead for now, but for how long? Because Isaac Price has been driving the wheels off of that thing. Has a slight look in towards turn number 1, but nothing's going to come off that one. Has to bide his time, has to sit in the slipstream instead, coming down the back straight, so Isaac Price might be able to make a move here up in towards P number 9. Has the overspeed, has a bit of slipstream from a car in front as well to be able to go the long way around into turn 3. It's still very tough to make this move work, and still has not been successful. Now Garster's on the back of this one, potentially on the outside looking in, but look at the charging Emre Can though. As soon as Can got past his teammates, he's been on an absolute flyer and is being able to lock onto the back of these Team Shmee cars now. So Emre Can unlocked at this stage. First target, Ben Spunky in the AMG Mercedes. It's great to see everyone watching from all over the world. Of course, primarily a European championship, this one. Is where the vast majority of the faster drivers are, of course, and we've got, at least in RaceRoom. And, well, the time zones work out in more of a European-centric fashion, but it's great to see viewership from all over, from Alabama, United States. Fantastic stuff. Welcome. But we've got 5 minutes to go here in race number 1. Of course, once we get to race number 2, we will have our full reverse grid. So, driver who finished at the very bottom, currently, Louis Delatraz, will be on pole position for race number 2, as Emre Can now looks to try and turn up the heat somewhat with regards to the battles with the cars ahead of him. And as well, Ben Spunky is putting has put in a relatively decent defensive effort so far. But to try and keep the likes of Emre Can behind you is very, very difficult indeed. You can see Monkey went slightly defensive there in through turn 4, but all these little deviations in the line, trying to keep that Corvette of Emre Can behind. Can has been one of the standout performers so far in this race, but he has a very limited amount of time now to try and pull off these passes. Following tight through the back to the back. Coming through those final couple of corners. Just a good handful of laps to go here at this stage. Of course, these guys are doing about just shy of 1 minute 30 in terms of their lap times here. So just a good handful of laps to go, but those tick by so quickly here at the Red Bull Ring. Such a short lap time comparatively speaking to a lot of other circuits. The run stalled out slightly here for Emre Can as he chases those Team Shmee cars up into turn 3. Of course, there's a little bit of action going on behind as well, as Gastner is getting involved with Price and Rachel and Gunther in behind as well. So things looking a little bit congested here from P9 and back as well. We do have to focus on the race lead as well, because all of a sudden that has gotten a little bit closer than when I last saw it between Marko Pejic and Christopher Högfeldt as well. So multiple places to look at here at the end of race 1. Högfeldt turning up the heat. Högfeldt getting the run out of the S's section. Might be able to challenge into the penultimate corner for the race lead. He's going to go try and swing out wide. Try and get the entry speed, the mid-corner speed and the momentum off. But it was all stalled out by Marko Pejic there. These Corvettes starting to come alive in the dying moments of this race. Just 2 more laps to go here at the Red Bull Ring in race number 1. And we've got battle for the race lead. We might even have battle for 5th. We've got battles inside the top 10 as well. So no matter where you look on this racetrack, you'll see guys going side by side, potentially on this final lap. Got 2 to go at the moment. Pejic keeping himself ahead. Up into turn 3 now. Behind, you got Emre Can trying to deal with Ben Spanky ahead of him, but Spanky's been very, very solid in the defense so far in this one. Can still tucked in the slipstream of those 2 Team Speed cars ahead of him. Now going to look to the outside through turn number 4. There's a little bit of contact between the 2. But contact that still results in Ben Spanky keeping himself ahead for now. Further forward as well. Looks like Christopher Högfeldt falling off the back of Marko Pejic just that little bit here. Now coming under threat from his teammate Tim Yarshall. Of course, Tim Yarshall's championship leader in the drivers' competition at the moment. Högfeldt might have bitten off a little bit more than he can chew with regards to the race leaders. They come across the line to start the final lap here at the Red Bull Ring for race number 1 of event number 3 of the REMUS GT3 Championship. Got that battle further back for P5 between Ben Spanky and Emre Can as well. Those guys have been stuck together like glue for the final third of this race, but there's no guarantee which order they'll come across the line in. Emre Can looking to try and get the run of speed on the way up in towards turn number 3. They'll lean on each other once again in the braking zone. Spanky has done such a good job in previous laps of holding on to that inside and making sure that Emre Can can't find a way by at all, and it's the same story this time into the downhill braking zone now. Emre Can trying his level best to try and get through, but that Mercedes is seemingly impossible to pass for P5 at the moment. And you can see the moves into the braking zone for the middle sector as well. No way for Emre Can to try and get past. Christopher Högfeldt's lost a second-tier race leader. He's really struggling now on this final lap. He's got Tim Yarshall behind him. Yarshall, of course, would like the few extra points with regards to the championship here. He'll even look to the inside through the penultimate corner, but in the end that was not going to change. And what's not going to change either is Marko Pejic coming across the line to win this race. Race number 1 at the Red Bull Ring goes the way of Team Malmedie, and it goes the way of Marko Pejic. Emre Can had no success in trying to pass Ben Spanky for 5th. Battle deeper in the pack though, as you see James West, Game of Muscle, try to challenge Axel Vermeulen, the Belgian driver, in the very late stages of this one. The BMW versus the Corvette at the moment, and well, there's going to be, well, overtaking opportunities at premium through the final couple of corners here, so not really expecting that one to change. That's race number 1 drawn to a close here at the Red Bull Ring. Event number 3, race number 1 is in the books. A bit of a celebratory spin across the line for Axel Vermeulen, but the man of the moment there is Marko Pejic. He had a whole bunch of Team Shmee cars behind him that were hounding him all the way. Late race pressure from Christopher Högfeldt as well. He was able to withstand it all and come away with race 1 win. But of course it all changes for race number 2. Very much so. It's a full reverse grid coming up. So the driver starting on pole position will be Louis Delatraz. with Leonard Carton on the front row as well. There's the overview of the unofficial race results, though. Payet, Högfeldt, Yarshall as your podium. Alexander Donaden in 4th place with Vance Monkey in 5th place. Emre in P6 there with Max Pfeiffer P7. Müller, Gribner, Price rounding out the top 10. Into the back, Rachel, Kinser, Gassner, Pilska, Barner, Pinces. Lots of very critical names for Team Malmedie, finishing a little bit further down the order than they would have liked, I would have thought. As we'll get ourselves transitioned over into the second race here of the evening. Of course, there's a reminder of the entry list here in this one. Of course, we had a relatively calm affair. I think that was probably one of the calmer races that we've had here at the REMUS GT3 Championship so far this season. And, well, saying that, a lot of the races have been pretty crazy. So I think we were about due for a little bit of a more relaxed race, but I can't help but feel as we head into the reverse grid race now that things will just be that little bit more chaotic. It has been for the previous 2 events that we've seen already so far. I see no reason why it'll change for round number 3. Let's have a look then at the warm-up session. Of course, we are very quickly into the second race of things here. We will have a bit of a 5-minute break as drivers will deal with this warm-up session and deal with anything they want to talk about in amongst their teams. Try and formulate a plan of action in race number 2. Thank you very much to everyone in the chat for joining me for this one and sticking by with my long pauses, as I do want to have a voice at the end of this broadcast, and sometimes the only way is just to stop talking, but someone saying well done, West. Yeah, well done, Gamer Muscle. Of course, he does try his best. He really, really does. Asser and Keithley at the back of the finishers. Yeah, that's going to be potentially pretty interesting heading into race number 2. So with the reverse grid race coming up, of course, we've seen these sort of situations sort of play out in one of 2 ways. Either, you know, we get a good complement of team members at the very front that are able to control the race and sort of maintain a rolling roadblock and are able to keep some of the faster drivers behind, or we've seen those fast drivers actually make some pretty short work of trying to get through the field. I'm not sure entirely which way around it will be here at the Red Bull Ring. There was certainly a stark difference to how the reverse grid races worked out at both Spa and the Nürburgring as well. Of course, the factor that's more prevailing at Spa in particular was that it was our first round of the season, so a lot more mistakes were happening. A lot of the drivers that were unhappy about how the balance performance was handled, but hopefully it's a little bit better here for the Red Bull Ring. Can't say I've seen too many complaints. Andrew Rowlings in the chat says, new to watching this, familiar with Formula 1, but how does this work as far as scoring and teams go? Well, this championship is a little bit weird even with regards to sim racing. With regards to its championship structure, of course, we have our two influencers, our two main figureheads for each team. You see blue cars out there, you'll see green cars out there. So, you know, blue cars are Team Shmee, green cars are Team Malmedie, and of course, so we have a championship between the two teams, and of course we have the individual drivers championship as well to be concerned about. Plus we have the sort of guest driver championship as well. It's a lot going on at once, so it sometimes is relatively difficult to try and keep track of, but we do try here in these sorts of situations. Yeah, we're just about, if you're just joining us, about to head out into the full reverse grid race here in the REMUS GT3 Championship. Another 20 minutes of racing on the cards. Devo609 saying some drifting, I see. Yeah, there are some drivers that do like to just have a little bit of fun in the warm-up sessions, maybe just to blow off a little bit of steam if they didn't have the best of first races. Of course, no adjustments can be made in between sessions here. Well, flat out no adjustments can be made ever, because we are using fixed setups here in this series. So everyone has identical setups. Of course, the only differences are, of course, the individual drivers. That goes without saying. And of course, the different car makes as well. We are just under a minute away, though, from getting the gridding procedure underway for race number 2 here at the Red Bull Ring for event number 3 of the championship. Of course, in a couple of weeks' time, we will be heading to Road America, and then Bathurst, and then Macau to finish off the season. I already mentioned at the top of the show how potentially quite interesting those final 2 rounds of the season will be due to the unique demands that they put on each and every one of the drivers out there. Jonathan saying thank you. Continue to pay attention, and also thank you for letting me know that I should be rooting for blue cars. I see you're a fan of Team Shmee then, or Shmee as a content creator. So there we go. That's all I need to know, and well, the drivers know now that they will shortly be able to take themselves to the starting grid. Of course, full reverse grid based on the results of race number 1 here for this one. So you'll see Louis Delatraz start at the very front of the field. And of course, those drivers that might have had very poor luck in race number 1 also start towards the front. Field gets turned on its head here for this one. Can cause quite a bit of excitement as those faster drivers are able to, well, either able or not able to try and get themselves back through the field towards the very front of the order. Maximum of 25 seconds before we go racing here for race number 2. I certainly can't wait for it. Both the teams on a bit of a level pegging here in this one, as the drivers are now ready to go racing. Reverse grid race racing here at the Red Bull Ring, about to get itself started. Louis Delatraz in pole position for Team Shmee. He's going to be able to get away not very well at all. He's been swamped off the start, as now Jack Keithley in the Bentley gets himself to the race lead with Florian Hasse in second place. Andre Santos and Stallenstein in, well, fighting it out for P3 there. As you see the cars swarm their way through turn number 1. Multiple instances of 2 and 3 wide. A bit of contact deeper in the pack, as you see these Team Shmee cars now trying to break away from the rest of the Malmedie cars, going very defensive on the way up and towards turn number 3. James West is involved in all of this one, by the way. Bit of a rolling roadblock for Team Shmee, by the Team Shmee cars, to keep the green swarm behind them. This is so crucial with regards to their championship, as now West will try and let Vermeulen by on the way down in towards turn number 4. Intra-team battling between Malmedie machines, as well as Ben Dorr and Simone Pretri were trying to go wheel to wheel. There's been a contact deeper in the order as well. This is what reverse grid racing looks like sometimes. At the start, it gets a little bit chaotic. But with half a lap in the books now, at least the very front of the field calms down somewhat, but the second half of the field, yeah, it's still a little bit sketchy in and amongst all these drivers involved. Coming in towards the final couple of corners then, as we'll see Rodriguez ahead of Pinces and Gasta, as Pinces and Gasta trying to go wheel to wheel with each other, the two teammates through the final corner now. Both the Corvettes, oh, there's someone off in the background. Was that Xavier Sanchez? It might have been, or it might have been Max Pfeiffer. Couldn't quite tell from that angle as they go up towards turn number 1 once again here, all still swarming across the racetrack as we had a little bit of contact behind. Someone's been sent into the wall there. Oh no, that's not exactly ideal, as we'll get to see who that was. That was Adam Pinces. Pinces got sent into the tyre barriers and gets cycled all the way back to P30. Oh my god, there's more incidents. James West gave a muscle spun around in front of traffic. Costa's also involved in this. Dornaden as well coming through on it right now. It's been a huge amount of chaos in the mid-pack here in race number 2, with multiple drivers having big ones. Yet more spinners, as that's Ben Dorr. Ben Dorr has had himself an off through turn number 4 as well. So he'll hemorrhage a good couple of positions here. This is not what you want to see if you're Team Malmedie, those positions and those crucial points being lost at this stage of the competition. Of course, all of this happens due to the fact that the faster drivers start at the back, the slower drivers start at the front here in the reverse grid race, and it causes situations like this, like the big dive down the inside by Emre Chian over Manuel Rodriguez to gain P12 away, and now more moves looking to be made a little bit further down the order. Mark Gassner and Luciano Vitvo looking relatively close there. A couple of cars going wide, well, car spun around as well. Lucas Muller's gone around. So many spinners, so many bits of contact early on in this one as the battles do continue on the way in towards turn number 3 here. Rodriguez and Pilsker fighting wheel to wheel into here. Yarshell looking to try and get himself involved in this as well. It's all getting a little bit too chaotic for my liking. Strung out single file a little bit though. On the way down into the braking zone for turn 4. Things just calming down that little bit more, fortunately, but what a chaotic start. So after one of the more chaotic first 5 minutes of a race that I've ever seen, things hopefully starting to calm down as we'll see. Look at this, Louis Delatraz heading up a 3-car train at the moment for P5 with Martin Barner and Alessandro Ottaviani behind. But Delatraz, of course, had major issues in that first race. I think it was a jump start in combination with speeding on the pit lane that caused him to basically have to serve 2 drive-through penalties in race number 1. But here comes Martin Barner trying to get through on those Team Shmee cars. He's been able to edge himself marginally ahead at this stage, but now Ottaviani's looking to try and get himself involved in this as well. Delatraz certainly not out of things in the Porsche either, as they'll go 3 wide up it towards turn number 3, at least briefly, but Barner still has the best of all of these guys. Make sure he gets the traction off the corner to try and keep the threat behind him on the way into 4. Delatraz will still have this attempt, or rather Ottaviani will still have this attempt over Martin Barner on through turn 4, but no progress being made there. A little bit better of a run off the corner for Ottaviani, still not going to be successful. Of course, Ottaviani had that spectacular spin in the opening race here today, looking for the up and under coming through the middle sector, but still no success in doing that. Now the bigger problem for Delatraz is that he's got Mark Gassner trying to get past him at the moment. Same with Vitvuk, same with Chian as well. Chian has been particularly impressive so far in this event. We'll see 3 wide on the way through the penultimate corner. There's contact on the inside between the 2 teammates there as they all somehow squeeze their way through just fine. There was so much leaning going on between all of those cars. It might continue on down the pit straight as well. Vitvote ahead of all of this one. Gasta involved as well. Xian and Delatraz, how do they factor into this one? I do not know, as it was Gasta and Vitvote going side by side in through turn number 1 that time around. Vitvote in the Porsche might have a bit of a better run down in towards turn number 3. It's very hard to tell from this angle. Gasta will maintain the inside line on the entry to the corner. Vitvote sort of hung out to dry a little bit. There's another team, Malmedie Corvette, looking to try to squeeze through as well, and that's Shmee150, which is a name you certainly don't want to have behind you, because you're going to be having to be defending into every single corner. Fights going on behind as well between Yashal and Yune. We've got Pilsker and Delatraz all involved in this one as well. My voice is failing at this stage, everyone. It's very difficult to do this. It's even more difficult sometimes to keep it on track out there in one of these cars. Shmee150 flashing of the lights. The universal driver signal of please get out of my way. Sometimes not as kind as that, as we see some battling between the 2 teammates there, Pilsker and Gune, having to try and negotiate the swap. All of this action going on in the mid-pack, though, has caused the front handful of cars to really just extend their gaps now. You can see Florian Hasser and Andre Santos. They're getting close to a P2. Santos potentially looking for a move there as well, but nothing doing here with 12 minutes to go. More action a bit further back. Christopher Högfeld down the inside. That's your P2 finisher from race number 1, looking to try and get himself inside the top 10. P12 for now. Pass is successful. Look at this stuff. Look at this in the bottom end of the top 20. This is absolutely crazy stuff there, as drivers are trying to fight tooth and nail for every single position possible. There are a lot of injured cars out there as well, so a lot of cars potentially off the pace with damage. Struggling to hold on to positions. Isaac Price is one of those cars with a bit of damage in the Bentley, but still looking to try and make some forward progress here, as it's fighting going on ahead of these guys between Praetri and Bens Banki. Praetri is able to slip himself ahead for now. Banki just leaning on the back bumper all the way through the corner. We are yet to get to the halfway stage of this race, by the way. Someone's gone off in the background. Didn't quite see who that was. I think it is a Team Shmee car, as the battle continues here up in towards turn number 1, as Praetri trying to hold on to the position over Bens Banki, but he's got a lot of Team Shmee machines looking to try and gain themselves a good couple of points here, as now Alexander Dornesen is going to be angling towards the inside. Bens Banki looking to try and shoot in the middle, but that is not ideal. Sparks fly through turn number 3. Dornesen ahead of this grouping. This is about for P17, by the way. They're fighting like it's for the race lead at the end of the race. More swarming, big moves being sent down the inside though. Was that Leonard Krippner just sending it down the inside of basically 2 or 3 cars there? I believe it might have been, and he's straight into the battle with one of the Corvettes here, Adam Pinces. Battle between the 2 teammates through the middle sector of this one. Bens Banki straight into a wheel-to-wheel fight with basically everyone at this stage. Adam Pinces is the driver to be exact. Inside of 10 minutes to go now. And the battles towards the bottom of the order keep going. Battles almost inside the top 10 continue on, as well as Emre Trian looks to try and find a way past Luciano Vitvote here. Vitvote trying to swing his way clear around the outside, but the inside is so strong for turn number 1. And Emre Trian has been able to gain another position. There's the battle for P2 heading their way through turn 3 as well. The battle for P8 still rages on. Xi'an now having to be on the defensive because Vitvo's looking at all the way around the outside, but the outside move both into turn 3 and turn 4 have been very, very complicated to try and complete. Vitvo has the run to speed down the hill into turn number 4 now. Yarshall looking to send the move from quite far back as well. Yarshall's got the move done on his teammate, but his teammate looks back underneath him. Vitvo not really letting that one get away from him, but he has to let it go. Yarshall with a big, forceful move up into P9. Could have gotten 2 cars for the price of 1 there, but Xi'an just too strong. Moves to the inside to try and defend a little bit further back on this one as well. Vitvo trying to hold position over Etapilska. Eight minutes to go. And the battles don't seem to relent here in this one, everyone. Yes, the drivers are using equally equipped vehicles, at least between manufacturers. There are still differences in the Porsche versus the BMW versus the Mercedes versus the Corvette versus the Bentley. You know, those are all still different, but at least in intra manufacturers, so all the Bentleys are the same, all the Porsches are the same, all the BMWs are the same. That's how the fixed setup works here. Of course, we do have a balance of performance. Some of the cars have had horsepower reductions. I think 2 of the manufacturers have had weight penalties be added as well, just to bring everyone back into an even keel. Just to get the most fair racing possible out of multi-class racing, but you know, it's a thing that happens even in the real world with multi-class racing. Trying to get everyone around about the same pace is very much easier said than done, especially when you try and you know, when you keep in mind that just some drivers are just flat out better than others, you know. Oh, someone's gone off. Someone's had a big one, big spin through the exit of the final corner. It's Luciano Vitvo in the Porsche, swinging his way back around as well. He had to wait for a bit of traffic to come through. I'd rather drivers do that rather than try and come out in front of traffic with an unsafe rejoin. It's the battle between Sinyan Gunay and Julian Kunze. Kunze swinging it around the outside in that Corvette. To try and gain a run of speed off the corner, going to be dipping back inside the slipstream here. We do have, of course, fights a little bit further up the order that we do have to pay attention to as well. There's the big move down the inside by Kunze. Gets ahead of the BMW. Gunay trying to, well, struggling with the traction off the corner. That's not normal for GT3 cars. Of course, they do have traction control. And they do have ABS. Of course, the latter not important when it comes to getting out of the corner. Getting into it, very much a different issue. Five minutes left to go here in this one, everyone. It has been a joy to commentate, however painful it has been for my throat at the moment. Trying to battle off a cold. And of course, the race that I did yesterday, that kind of destroyed it. But when it was racing like we saw the chaotic, the crazy racing that we saw early on in the race, then I don't mind bearing the pain. I might have to bear a little bit more in the final few minutes this one as well. Christopher Hickveld and Petr Pilska looking to do a duel once again, this time for P10. Pilska has a friend in the form of Marko Pejic, though Pejic, of course, was our race winner for race number 1. He'll tuck inside the slipstream now. Looking to try and go the long way around on the Swede. Not a lot of give or take being negotiated there between those two. Page remains behind. Kendall saying, listen to all the virtual fans and stands. They're pretty excited for Team Shmee, I'm sure. Well, I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know what the allegiances of the virtual fans are, of course, here in this one. But looking back towards the very front of the field, we haven't really talked a lot about Jack Heathley because he just kind of got to the front quite early on and started running away. It's one of those things where if we don't talk about you a lot on broadcast, then you're probably doing a good job. And that's exactly the situation for Jack Heathley. He's got 4 seconds to the good ahead of Florian Hasse at the moment. So that's going to be pretty important with regards to the Drivers' Championship as well, because Jack Heathley is within direct competition with Florian Hasse for the top spot in the championship. 160 points to 143. So this will be a healthy gain for Jack Heathley in that particular squabble. We are heading towards the final 2 laps of the event though. And well, a little bit more action-packed in this one compared to race number 1. That's probably one of the more obvious statements I'll be able to make all day. Someone says change the camera to James West, and well, for Gamer Muscle, it's not been a great day. Started roughly near the front due to the reverse grid, but you can see the Corvette not really as it rolled off the showroom floor. I think it's probably been pretty generous to the state of that car at the moment. But at least James West is not last. Xavier Sanchez, as a retirement, will finish behind him. So where are the late race battles going to come from then? Potentially P2 between Hasse and Santos, if Santos can get a good run here on this penultimate lap. We've got Gasta and Ottaviani for P5. That's looking a little bit closer, so that might be where we'll see the fighting. We've got Christopher Högfeldt actively fighting with Marko Pejic here. Of course, those were P1, P2 in the first race. Now they're fighting wheel to wheel in the second race, albeit for P11. Just 1 more minute to go. Here is Jack Heathley as your race leader coming through the final corner to start the final lap then, as we'll have a little bit of a look back to see all these different situations try to play out at this stage. Ottaviani dropping back through the order. What's happened to Ottaviani? Not entirely sure. There's some damage to that car as well. Having to try and save a slowdown, I think, as well. Not ideal for Ottaviani. Not ideal for Team Shmee. Malmedie have had a pretty good race number 2 here, despite the fact that Jack Heathley will likely come across the line and win this race for Team Shmee. It's more cars, well, more cars that we're used to seeing for Team Malmedie inside of the top 10. Having a look up and down the field for our closest battles, there's the battle for P2 on this final lap then. 2 of the main overtaking opportunities has gone away already from Andre Santos, so not looking at all likely here in this one. Pejic looking to try and go the long way around on Christopher Högfeldt. This is the battle for P10, just that little bit deeper in the pack, but Pejic not successful there. Pejic might even look to the inside for the middle sector here, but not going to go for a move such as that whatsoever. We'll have a look back towards the very front of the field though, because it has been one man all race here in race number 2. Jack Heathley got to the front early and simply did not look back. Jack Heathley wins race number 2 here at the Red Bull Ring for the REMUS GT3 Championship. Looking back through the order, everyone sort of trickling across the line as they stood at the start of the final lap there. Not all that many changes to report about. There's Benz Bunky and Isaac Price getting pretty close through the final corner, but they'll come across the line with Bunky ahead and Price is behind in 18th place. Well, a crazy first 2/3 of the race that we had, though, with lots of action up and down the field. Jack Keithley, of course, he'll be the most happy about this. We'll have to see how the points calculations work out between Team Shmee and Team Malmedie. But Keithley will just be soaking in the moment for now, knowing that he's race winner for race number 2. James West did get to the line, by the way. There he is. I know some people were trying to track his progress over the course of that one. Want to forget, but at least he got to the end. But there's the unofficial race results then from race number 2 at the Red Bull Ring. Jack Keithley wins from Florian Hasse, from Andre Sanders, from Vermeulen, from Gassner. That's the top 5. Varner, Sheehan, Yarshel, Pilsker, Hugfeld round out the top 10. Race 1 winner of Marko Pejic finishes in 11th in race number 2. Michael Rachel, Julian Kunze, Donald Endley on the Krypton done P15, Sinyan Gune P16, Ben Swanky P17, Isaac Price P18. You can see the rest of the runners as they cycle down through. Delatraz pole position for race number 2, but got swallowed up by the pack after a very, very poor start. So with that, everyone, we do have to wrap up rather quickly here in this one. That was event number 3 of the REMUS GT3 Championship here at the Red Bull Ring. Of course, in about 2 weeks' time, we head to round number 4 at Road America. That might be an interesting predicament for lots of your drivers, of course. Fantastic circuit, all things considered. We don't see it much in league racing here on RaceRoom, at least at the very top level. So it'll be very interesting to see that track. Of course, we have Bathurst and Macau to finish off the season as well in late November / early December. But thank you very much, everyone, for watching. It's been a little bit of a struggle for me as I've, well, my voice is now starting to go. You can probably hear that. But thank you very much for watching this REMUS GT3 Championship for 2021. I've been Connor Matic, and, well, see you in a couple of weeks' time.